Hey guys, and welcome back to this week's installment of the Rotation Diaries. Guys, this is the second last one. I can't believe it. I mean, to be fair, I only really ever did 10 rotations and I doubled up a lot, but regardless, I can't believe we're here. So this week I'm going to be talking to you about anesthetics. If you're interested, of course, please keep watching, but don't forget to hit subscribe, click like, and leave a comment telling me what you want me to do next. This series is pretty much nearly over. I need ideas, guys, let me know. But without further ado, let's jump into anesthetics. So, my anesthetics term, unfortunately, was really short. I had been signed up for a 10-week rotation, but because of staffing issues in the obstetrics rotation I'd just come from, I did head back to obstetrics for several weeks. So I think, overall I think I did 6 weeks of anesthetics, between 5 and 6. It was a really good rotation, but it was definitely not my favorite. First and foremost, I just want to say I'm super lucky to have been able to do an anesthetics rotation, especially as a second year out. It is a highly competitive area and I do not take it for granted whatsoever, even though I didn't really like it. It was definitely an interesting rotation to say the least, and I spent a lot of time in scrubs, which is super comfy. The general gist of my day is I would arrive and go to a handover meeting. There were no lists for me to do as a junior because the theatre staff would do it. I would be allocated to a particular anaesthetist who was then allocated to a particular room or surgeon, and we would set up, I suppose. Anesthetics is a really hard one to describe. Essentially, the role of the anaesthetist is kind of underplayed a lot, especially on TV, but they are the people who are keeping you alive, pain-free, and without memory of really super traumatic experiences. You know, surgery, getting an organ taken out of you, that sort of thing. My role as the junior was really to watch and learn and to do things as I got more confident. But essentially, the things I would do include lots of cannulas, giving drugs through those cannulas to make people go to sleep and be pain-free and memory-free of the operation, popping in airway support, so whether that be a Goodell airway or full-on intubation and ventilation, learning the settings of the ventilator, which is terrifying, and then helping people wake up after their surgery. So that would be sort of my role intra-operatively, and then after the operation I would often follow people up. If they needed fluids, I'd give them fluids, that sort of thing. But really, we had no patients of our own, but everyone was our patient, if that makes sense. So the surgeon and the surgical team would take care of them for most of it, but in those times when they're in the theatre, they're ours. Another important role I did as a JHO in anesthetics was attended a lot of MET calls. So I was no strangers to MET calls by this point. I'd already done 2 full rotations in general medicine, and I'd done some time in the intensive care unit and the emergency department, so it was pretty bread and butter by this point, which was nice. Not to say, mind you, that I was running them, not at all. I was just less scared. So my day really would vary a fair bit depending on what theatres I was in. For example, orthopaedic theatre, I'd probably only do 3 cases a day because they take so long. So we would often do nerve blocks and things like that, and then we would put people under general anaesthetic, we'd keep them under, then we'd wake them up. Like I said, these operations took several hours, so quite often they were slow. In the meantime, I would usually do a lot of study, and the anaesthetists are so knowledgeable. I will get to it in a little bit, but this was the rotation I felt the most inadequate in. Like, the most dumb. Like, really dumb. If I wasn't in theatre, I was quite often working on a research project. So the anaesthetic department I worked in was very interested in research, and we were doing quite a few trials, so I would quite often do a lot of the grunt work in getting the numbers and doing the graphs and things like that. Really boring to put into a video, so I won't go into it anymore. So the highlights of the rotation is definitely meeting the people I met. I met some incredible doctors, absolutely incredible doctors when I was in the anaesthetics rotation. It was also pretty cool learning how to properly put it in an airway and how to assist someone's breathing and how to get those sort of real tactile skills under my belt. I've lost all of them now 2 years later, but at the time, really cool. The lowlights are definitely feeling inadequate. Around the time I was in my anaesthetics rotation was the time that the registrars were sitting for some of their exams, either their entrance or exit exams, and they were studying non-stop. And because they were studying non-stop, I felt like I had to be studying, even though I had nothing to study for. And the consultants would often question them and quiz them on their knowledge. And then they'd quiz me and question me, and I hadn't studied, and I felt like I knew nothing, and it was just this spiral of just essentially hating myself because I knew nothing. They were really, really nice about it, don't get me wrong. That's something I had to deal with though, was just that feeling of inadequacy. So tips for the rotation, obviously all the standard stuff applies. Be early, be prepared, bring your own snacks, bring your own coffee mug, very important. Get used to how cold theatre is, and be prepared to say I don't know like 700 billion times. Probably another good tip is to set aside some time every day to study and to learn things like how a ventilator works, how different anaesthetics work, that sort of thing. But this is such a broad question and it's so hard to give you proper tips. I'm sorry, I'm really not the most qualified person to give you tips. I didn't write much in my diary, but I do have a couple of diary entries, so let's get into them. So this is dated the 21st of October 2018. I've never felt more stupid in my life. That's a good way to start. Everyone in anaesthetics functions at level 99 and I feel like I'm on level 3. Everyone is super, super lovely and most of the registrars were studying, so that kind of explains the intensity of their knowledge, but yeah, I'm not an intellectual. And that's okay too, isn't it? I got really involved in one of the trials, but it was a very on and off, on hiatus, on again, off again, and I had a few days of legitimately doing nothing. It was definitely a weird 6 weeks. There you go, 6. Yeah, 6, because I went back to ONG for a couple of weeks. That's it. I really didn't write much. Like I didn't really write much between July and October at all. So anyway, that was probably the quickest episode of this whole series that I've done. If you enjoyed it, please do let me know. But next time, guys, it's my final rotation that I ever did in the hospital system, which is mental health. I'm contemplating doing an episode for general practice, but we'll see. Until next time, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you next time.